Deconverted Man here. Time to comment on Living in Dystopia video because it's there. Alright, here we go.
The book of fairy tales that also supports genital mutilation, slavery, and genocide.
Why do these atheists pick out those particular things, slavery and genocide?
We can't know the intentions of any individual, so I don't know.
Because they grew up in a culture which teaches that slavery and genocide are particularly egregious sins.
Okay. So, if they grew up in a culture that said that sin was, or that slavery was fine, then they'd be okay with slavery. Maybe, yeah. And that would be true probably of you as well. Doesn't mean anything. Well, let's see where your point is.
Of course, you would probably say that slavery and genocide are objectively bad things, and
I don't know if I'd say objectively, but I'd say they certainly are not very pleasant for the people who are being, having that thrust upon them. And societies that practice it don't seem to be very good societies. They don't seem to last that long. They seem to have all sorts of problems, and they eventually change or collapse over time. So it seems that slavery is something that eventually humans recognize is not a sustainable way of doing things. You have a very few people controlling a large amount of people by force. Eventually, those large amount of people are going to turn on the ones controlling them. It's only a matter of time. So it seems that it's an unstable way of doing things, if nothing else.
I would agree, but there have been societies other than ours which have condoned slavery or genocide or both. There are a few societies today which practice slavery, and it's true that most societies today condemn slavery and genocide, but there are differences of emphasis. Many cultures answer no to the question, is genocide okay? But some cultures emphasize condemnation of genocide, and other cultures emphasize condemnation of other sins. In modern
I don't know why it would matter what is emphasized above anything else. Like, these things are bad or whatever. Let's see. Murder, yeah. Theft, bad. Yeah. Slavery is bad. Cowardice, I don't know about that being bad. I guess it could be a problem given certain circumstances, but I could understand it. I guess you can. Is cowardice a sin? Genocide, okay, yeah, that's bad. Envy, I don't really see envy as being that bad of a thing necessarily. Promiscuity, depends on how that works out. Treason, yeah, I think that could be pretty bad. Sloth, I don't really see what's really wrong with that. It seems to be like a self-defeating sort of thing. If you just sit around and not doing much of anything, eventually that's pretty much going to kill you. So I don't really see that one as being that big of a deal, other than to yourself or whatever. But I guess there's some problems with that. But yeah, I'm not really impressed by this list here.
In America, the culture these two atheists are from, there is particularly strong emphasis on condemnation of genocide, because in America's most recent major war, genocide was part of the enemy state's ideology. There is also a particularly strong emphasis on condemnation of slavery, because in America's most deadly war, the enemy practiced slavery. And not only are condemnation of genocide and condemnation of slavery strong values in America because of America's recent wars, they also are, not coincidentally, Christian values.
No, they're not. Nah, you'd have to show the verses in the Bible that condemn slavery. I'll wait. Go ahead. Show me the verse in the Bible that condemns slavery. Show me one verse in the Bible that says, do not have slaves. I'll wait. Go ahead. Show me in the Bible, anywhere in the Bible, where it says that slaves are not a thing to have anymore. To stop having slaves. You can find all sorts of verses about how to treat slaves. You can even find it in the New Testament. There's thing in Peter of, masters servants serve your master and all this. So that's there. But where is the verse that says specifically in regards to slavery to not do it? If it's not there, then you cannot say that it is specifically against it. And you can't just say, well, but it says love your neighbor as yourself or something like that. It's like, that's not specific. So it doesn't specifically deal with this issue. So it's not a Christian value.
Ask yourself, whom would Jesus enslave? And whom would Muhammad enslave?
Well, Muhammad might enslave non-Muslims, and I don't know who Jesus would or wouldn't enslave. He got killed, so he wasn't able to do much after that, being dead, if he even was at all. And then supposedly he came back and was around for a while, and then he boogered off again. Not sure how any of that works, but even if your leader doesn't enslave anybody, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Gandhi never enslaved anyone. Gandhi, he had his flaws, but, overall did something pretty cool, So, I don't see what your point is,
Genocide is maybe a more controversial example, but I'll put it this way. Even if you think that all religions condemn genocide, there definitely are differences in the degree of condemnation. And it definitely is the case that moral condemnation of genocide does not flow in an equally straightforward way from every religion's doctrine. If you
Yeah, that's not even in Christianity at all about genocide. It's, in fact, I guess you go to the Old Testament, plenty of people getting genocided left and right, up and down there. But yeah, don't ignore the Old Testament. What about the New Testament? There's nothing, no genocide happens there. Okay, yeah, all right. Well, in a way, it does though. Genocide of all non-Christians eventually happens. In a way, if you believe in hell, or you believe in an annihilation idea of death, where if you're not saved, you simply stop existing. So for the people that believe that version, then by not being a Christian, you are genocided because you simply stop existing. Your soul is snuffed out, because that's the only way to be separate from God, would be to not exist anymore. Now, if you think that hell is real, then not being a Christian, that's worse than genocide. That's just eternal torment. So yeah, that's pretty bad, But that's a Christian value. That's a you problem, not a me problem.
believe that the heavens contain a multitude of gods who sometimes squabble and fight, and that Lord Shiva cut off Ganesha's head and replaced it with an elephant head, it's not immediately clear how you get from there to moral condemnation of genocide. If you believe that
I don't know either. I don't know anything about Hinduism, so whatever.
the Jews are God's chosen race of humans and the Amalekites are a race of intrinsically evil submen, then it sounds like genociding the Amalekites might actually be a religious duty. And there are rabbis in Israel today who argue that Palestinians are the descendants of Amalek and should therefore be exterminated. Christianity teaches the infinite value of the lowliest person's life and that the last shall come first in heaven. And it's a short step from there to an extreme concern, I would say.
All right, well, you say Christianity teaches, but there's no way that you could possibly hope to demonstrate that, because certain denominations might teach that. You might teach that. To say that all of Christianity does that, well, you're going to need some major research to back that assertion up. You're going to need to have a wide-scale survey of Christian churches to see what indeed they do teach about this, if they teach anything at all. And I know that you don't have that. So you don't have the ability to say that this is a Christian teaching. Yeah, well, it's in the Bible. Yeah. So are other things. Well, different things are emphasized in different churches. Different things are taught by different churches. So there's no one way that Christianity is taught wide scale. You know, you could get maybe the most popular denomination and say that they teach X, Y, and Z perhaps, but you don't even have that. Let's see. No, nothing in your description there. Just ways to pay you money for this. Uh, so, yeah, whatever.
Say an excessive concern with protecting the weak, and from there it's a short step to condemnation of genocide. Now consider atheism. There were some people in the 1940s in Germany.
All right, that doesn't matter. People in the 1940s do not matter at all in any way, shape, or form to atheism. This is just poisoning of the well. So it's like, oh look, these people were atheists, and then they did bad stuff. Therefore, atheism bad. Okay, the most of the Germans, had the whole, belt buckle, God is with us and all that. They were mostly Christians, all of the Nazis, they were like, yeah. So, yeah, you found a couple of bad atheists. It doesn't mean anything because atheism does not prescribe how to be. It is not a worldview in and of itself. It is part of a worldview, perhaps, but does not tell you how to do things. That these two people or anybody else might be bad is wholly irrelevant to the claims and arguments made by atheists, broadly speaking. This is simply poisoning of the well. Do better.
Germany, who consider themselves atheists. They thought they were rejecting Christian dogma. R. Walter Duray is an example. And these people in 1940s Germany knew about the theory of evolution.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter, so I'm skipping because none of this matters. It's not even an argument. It's simply poisoning of the well. That's it. So, next.
Become part of the struggle between the races for existence, to embrace war as an inevitable aspect of existence, and by their effort in the great competition of nations, they would be part of the process of evolution, part of the great upward thrust of human evolution. No, I don't agree with that argument. I believe
it's because it's a bad argument. It's not about whether you agree with the argument or not. It's about whether the argument is good or not. But they weren't using evolution. They were using eugenics. I would think you would know that, but, whatever. Just say whatever you feel like saying, I guess,
believe in God. I believe that every person has intrinsic moral worth. That's why I believe that genocide is evil. It is.
Okay, everyone has intrinsic worth. Everyone? Really? Are you sure about that? Like, how far does that extend? If somebody, takes somebody that you care about and tortures them for, however many years, does the person that's doing that torture still have worth? I mean, it'd be kind of hard to feel that way towards them, wouldn't it? Like, and then at the end of the day, if somebody, I don't know, does all the sins in the Bible, blasphemy, Holy Spirit, whatever, doesn't believe in God in general, it's just a nasty person all around. Well, they don't have intrinsic worth because they're going to hell, right? So, I mean, where was their intrinsic worth? I mean, you can believe what you want. I don't know if it's actually possible to believe that everybody has intrinsic worth. But, yeah, if that's what you think that you want to believe, whatever. But you'd have to demonstrate that that's something that you can extract from the Bible, which you might be able to do using a few verses here and there, but then you're going to have to also show it because your claim is that this is a Christian teaching. You have to show that this is widespread, which you haven't done here. And you probably won't do because that would take massive effort to do it.
It is not at all clear how atheists can believe that genocide is evil.
Well, maybe you could ask an atheist. Hey, hi, I'm an atheist. How's it going? I'm right here. I'm also a skeptic. So you could ask me if you want to know. You could just ask. I know a bunch of other atheists. You could ask them. Just ask us. we'll give you an answer. So instead of just wondering, just ask. It's just an idea.
These two goofballs think they're atheists, but they are
Well, if they think that they're atheists, then they are.
really unwitting Christians.
No, they're not. Now you're reading into their brains, which is not possible to do. Now, I wish you'd link their original video because I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know why you're calling them goofballs, but yeah, where's the there's no link to their video. So who are you talking about? You see, I linked to your video. Yeah, whatever.
These are people who have grown up in a Christian culture, and they have imbibed.
Okay, Christian culture. Now, this has been thrown around a lot. How many Christians are in America? Do you know? Do you have anything that shows that at all? Show me that. Show me how many Christians are in America. Then take that backwards. In the past, how many Christians were in America going all the way back to the founding of the country, and how many Christians there were? Okay? Now, that's a huge undertaking. All right? Then to say it's a culture based upon that, well, that's something that I don't even know how you would do, given that we're kind of a mixing pot of different ideas in America. So I know people like to throw around the idea that we're a Christian culture, but nobody has proven it yet. Not sure how you would, to be honest. I think that you would at least start by showing that Christianity has been a dominant majority in America from today, going all the way back to its founding. Of course, you could look at the founding fathers and go from there, but the problem is most of them weren't Christians, so that's going to cause some problems. They were mostly, some of them did have beliefs, but not necessarily Christianity. So, you'd have to show the society and its trends. Maybe you go through each decade and show how that decade reflects Christian values. Yeah, the temperance movement, was that a Christian thing? Like, get rid of alcohol. I don't know. Jesus drank wine, so then that was a thing because prohibition didn't work, so that went away. And then wasn't it Christians themselves that had slaves in the South? So what happened there? I guess they didn't get the message that wasn't a Christian value to have somehow. It's weird. It's almost like it wasn't a Christian society or something. Or maybe they lost and that was the way to do things. I don't know. You're going to have to make that argument too. And as you go out through the centuries, and you're going to run into, the different wars that we fought and show how our tactics were Christian or not. Good luck. Yeah, let's see you do it. You're not gonna, but, maybe you could at least make an effort. You're not gonna, but I'm just saying, like, you could have made an effort instead of just saying that it was so. But anyways, all right.
Christian morals so deeply that they then turn on Christianity and accuse it of not being Christian enough.
Well, I've found that sometimes atheists are better Christians than Christians in a way. Like, there's a whole Beatitudes, right? Be nice and be calm and be patient and all that, right? And you could also, there's a whole, you'll know them by their fruits sort of thing. And there's atheists that are really nice people, like really nice people. And there's some Christians that are really nasty scumbags, but that doesn't tell us who's right or wrong. It doesn't do anything about anything. So it really is, but you're saying that we're not being Christian enough. Okay. And maybe you're not. Well, but they can't dare have the same morals as I do. Yeah, they can. Because I could accuse you. I could say, hey, you're borrowing your morals from Zoroastrianism, because Zoroastrianism was before Christianity and Judaism. Everything is borrowed from somewhere. If it comes before it, technically you could say everything is borrowed from whatever came first. It's not really an argument. Anyways, go on.
You've probably seen this graphic or heard an argument which has some variant of it. Protect marriage as God defines it.
I've never seen this graphic before. I wish you'd linked it so I could see what you're talking about closer, because I can't read a darn thing on it. So I don't know what you're referring to here, but you're going to complain about it for a while. And because I don't know what you're talking about, I don't care. So I'm skipping that. Skip.
Testament. Examples are Numbers and Deuteronomy, both Old Testament.
Yeah, and Jesus says not a jittle or what or whatever he says about the law being taken away. So Jesus seems to support the law. Now, I know that Jesus also says that the whole thing is replaced with a new commandment. So I guess depending on what you actually listen to and when you listen to Jesus, like, he's both for the law and he's not for the law. But there's no contradictions at all there. So, yeah, whatever. But does Jesus ever explain marriage, like, completely and coherently? Does he say, here's how it's done, this is the only way it's done? Or, does he do that? I don't know. You could have used some biblical verses there if you'd wanted to show that. But instead, no, the Old Testament, that doesn't count, because the Christians, we're all about the New Testament. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Maybe man plus woman, polygamy. Lamech, Esau, those are in Genesis. Jacob, also in Genesis. So it says a lot about criticism of Christianity that whenever people criticize the Bible and say it contains horrible things, they always go to the Old Testament.
Yes, it's only the Old Testament. Can't find anything in the New Testament to complain about. Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right, so it's time to complain about the New Testament, I guess. All right, so here's was it Mark 7, 1 through 37. And when the Pharisees gathered, some of them scribes were from Jerusalem, blah, 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 blah. The Pharisees and all the Jews do not eat unless they wash their hands properly. Okay. Now, they do that. Why? Because it's their tradition. All right. It's a good idea to wash your hands, given that there's germs on them. But they did it because it was tradition. All right. So when they come from the marketplace, they don't eat unless they wash. And there are many other traditions that they observe, just as the washing of cups, pots, and copper vessels, and dining couches. So they were pretty clean. That's good. And the Pharisees and scribes asked him, why do your disciples not walk according to the tradition of the elders, but eat with defiled hands? And then Jesus says, well, they honor me with their lips, but the heart is far from me. In vain they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men. You leave that commandment of God and hold to the tradition of men. So, rather than answer the question, Jesus is like, I'm going to talk about this other thing. Typical apologists, really. They're like, hey, why aren't you guys walking this way? Why are they eating with dirty hands? Don't you know this part of the Old Testament? Oh, wait. We're not supposed to talk about the Old Testament. Only the New Testament. But anyways, yeah. And so he doesn't answer their question. What an asshole. Anyways, then he says, you have a refined way of rejecting the commandment of God in order to establish your tradition. When did they reject the commandment of God? What are they talking about? What's this got to do with anything? Like, why don't they do this? Why don't your followers wash their hands, Jesus? Well, because you're supposed to honor your father, mother, blah, 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 blah. So he completely goes off topic, doesn't answer their question, says a completely different thing. And then he's like, here, check this out. There's nothing outside a person that by going into him can defile him. But the things that come out of a person are what defile him. So Jesus tells his followers, anything that goes into you can't defile you, which is completely and totally a lie. Jesus just lied to his followers. Lots of things that you can take will defile you. Cigarette smoking, yeah, that's going to defile you. Drinking in excess, that's going to defile you. Putting a penis into your mouth if you're a guy, that will defile you. Actually, it might defile you if you're a woman too. I'm not sure. Doesn't say how you're supposed to have sex in the Bible exactly, but yeah, that could defile you. So it seems to me that there's plenty that you could put in your mouth or in your body that would defile you. Poison, that would defile you. Now, maybe he means in a spiritual way that there's nothing that you could put in that's physical that could defile you. But that's also maybe not true. I don't know. But he's not making it clear. And he's basically saying, don't worry about it. Don't worry about what goes inside of you. Just worry about what comes out of your mouth and all that, right? So now here was a chance for Jesus to actually be a coherent teacher that is moral and useful for not just that day, but also today as well. So let me outdo Jesus, okay? Pharisees are like, hey, why don't you guys walk in like we walk? By the way, they wouldn't complain about their defiled hands if I had been the teacher, because they would have had clean hands. So they couldn't have complained about that. They might have said, hey, they don't wash their hands like the way we do, because they would have washed their hands for sure if I was leading them. And they would have asked me, hey, what's going on? Why aren't you guys walking? I'm like, because tradition doesn't matter. Who cares about tradition? What matters is how we live today. Now, some things, maybe you value them, but we don't. Those are the traditions you can live by if you want to. Nothing wrong with them. But we don't want to live by those traditions, and we're not gonna. That's it. That's why we don't do that. And, by the way, washing your hands, good thing. Good for you doing that, because actually there's these things called germs. You can't see them, but with your naked eye, but you could if you invent a microscope. By the way, this is how to invent a microscope, then I'd explain how to do that, because since I'm God, I would know that. Anyways, and you can see these little germs, so washing gets rid of those. But don't just do it just because of tradition. Wash your hands and also pots and pans and your general living quarters because of germs. That's why you should wash your hands, not just because of tradition. So just want to clarify to everybody that they totally should wash their hands. But I wasn't Jesus, and I wasn't around back then to clarify the matter and do far better than Jesus did. But yeah, there's a complaint against Jesus using the New Testament. Basically said, don't bother to wash your hands. Don't worry about it. Didn't explain germ theory, didn't explain that washing your hands is actually a good idea. Instead, does whatever he did. And you could take this verse and you could think that it means basically don't bother washing your hands. You could. Now, maybe people don't, but you wanted me to complain about the New Testament, so there you go. Wait, no, I'm not done yet. Oh, no, I got more. Oh, here we go. All right. And Matthew 6:25 here. Don't worry about your life, or what you'll eat or drink, or about your body, or what you wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? I don't know, but basically you're saying don't worry about it. Don't worry about what you eat or drink. So eat whatever you want, drink whatever you want. Don't worry about what you wear, because it's more than that. That's other things to worry about. So basically, yeah, eat and drink to oblivion. Well, but it doesn't say that, but you could make it say that, and I am making it say that, because I'm complaining about this as not being very good advice. So again, if I'd been Jesus, would have been a little bit clearer in my message conveying than Jesus was. I would say, look, worry about your life, but life is more than what we put on as far as clothing. Yes, it should worry you to some extent because you want to look presentable, but it shouldn't consume your life. And as far as what you eat or drink, hey, eat and drink in moderation because you don't want to overdo it, and maybe avoid this kind of food or that kind of drink because it could be dangerous to you to eat or drink it or whatever. Or maybe here's how to prepare it in a way that it won't be dangerous anymore. But again, that would be if Jesus was actually intelligent, which he really wasn't. So yeah, there you go. I complained about the New Testament. What else do you want me to do?
Non-Christian testament. It suggests that a lot of atheists, or so-called atheists, who are prominent today are really just religionists of a different stripe.
No, it doesn't. It's just religiousness of another stripe. The old two que fallacy. When all else fails, you just have religion too. No, they don't, and you haven't demonstrated that at all. And then your video just ends. So yeah. Wow. So yeah, thanks for having me complain about the New Testament. I'm happy to find more things to complain about there. If that's what you want me to complain about, I'm happy to do that. As far as morals go, sure, we could talk about that, but we have to talk about ethics as well, because your ethical system, I would assume, is DCT, Divine Command Theory. My ethical system isn't. It's a different ethical system. I have utilitarianism / some Kantian ideas of that my duty is to the truth. So that's kind of broadly speaking my ethical system. Now, I don't follow it precisely as laid out, but it's an ideal that I try to hold to. And whether or not I can, who knows? DCT has its problems, certainly, because you have to actually believe that there's a D doing the commands, a deity of some sort, and of course it could change its commands, or and so there's problems with that ethical system. But to say, well, they're just using the morals I'm using, well, we're all using somebody's morals at some point, and whoever came before us or whoever came before them, well, you're just using Zoroastrian morals, and they're just using whoever was before them's morals, and so on and so forth, all the way back. And unless you presuppose that Christianity is true all the way back, then when you look at history as it really is, where Christianity didn't exist until later on, the earlier people would have had different morals than we do, and that evolves throughout time and changes throughout time and culture. And as far as trying to, get the one up and be like, oh, we're morally superior because God gave us these commands, it doesn't work for me, because it doesn't matter in Christianity. It doesn't matter what the morals are at all, not even a little. What matters is ultimately whether or not you believe in Jesus having died for your sins and all that, and also confess with your mouth and whatever else you think you have to do to get saved. That's what matters. That's what your reward or punishment hinges upon, is your belief, not your deeds. Now, some people say, well, you have to do works and have faith. But some people say, no, you just have grace. And some people say, no, it's all works. And there's, different Christians will say different things. So what are you basing your things on? Now, if we're to use just the Bible, the Bible's like, yeah, you'll know a false prophet because they don't use my word to back up what they say, So using that criteria, then you're a false prophet, and I shouldn't listen to you based on that because you didn't use the Bible to support most of what you said here. I don't care about that system because I don't care about the Bible, but I'm just saying, even by your own criteria, you didn't do a very good job. Thanks for watching. Look forward to the comments in the comment below. And yeah. Thanks for listening. Finn. All right. It's Finn. Type in Finn, dang it. Oh, I need to push the button. I got a guy saying stuff in the chat I'm not going to respond to.